You nearly stumbled over your feet the moment you exited the elevator, your feet carrying you down the halls towards a particular apartment. You had spent the first half of your day going about your daily routine, wandering around your living room when you suddenly received a message. No, several dozen messages from Kaminari, Kirishima, and Sero. When you had asked them what the sudden spamming was about, they bombarded you with messages to get your ass to their apartment, not bothering to give you any context. Worried beyond belief, you dropped everything and practically rushed out the door, multiple thoughts of something bad happening to your boyfriend or his friends swarming your head. What could have possibly happened? Were they robbed? Was the apartment broken into? Did one of them get hurt? No. You shook away the growing anxiety. They were 4 grown men living together. Anyone would second-guess themselves once they lay eyes on Bakugo's scowl or Kirishima's towering and well-built stature. If anything, the worst thing to happen to them was next-door neighbors thirsting after them. Even then, they have Kaminari's flirty personality to wade through that. You couldn't describe how much relief washed over you when the door to the apartment opened, the blonde hair of Kaminari greeting you as he led you inside. You turned to him after greeting Kirishima and Bakugo in the living room, resting your hip against the back of the couch. So? Care to explain the sudden messages? You all had me worried sick! You waved your hands frantically, exclaiming how much your parental instinct went into overdrive when the worst possible scenarios caused you to worry. Relax. Blame your boyfriend for this, Kaminari said, moving to ruffle your hair. Speaking of your boyfriend, the tape man in question was nowhere to be found. He was usually in the living room, either watching movies or playing video games whenever you came over. Denki caught your inquisitive glance around the room, causing him to chuckle. He's in his room. Thanking him and giving a short wave to Kirishima and Bakugo, you moved further into the apartment towards Sero's room. Only when you were halfway down the hall did you hear Kaminari call to you again. Try not to make any sudden movements or bust the door open. You'll scare her. Her? Just what did he mean by her? A bubbling suspicion grew in your stomach as you stood in front of Sero's door. You raised a fist, ready to rap against the door before you heard familiar laughter muffled through the wood. It sent your mind reeling. There was no way your lovable goof of a boyfriend would commit something so heinous. Right? You gave a firm knock on the door, hearing the laughter momentarily cease, followed by a shuffling sound. You heard a faint, "Come in," before holding your breath, bracing yourself for what you were about to see as you turned the knob. The speed you opened the door was painfully slow, your gaze fixated to the floor as you slowly slid into the room. I'm glad you can make it, babe. Hearing his cheerful voice made you smile slightly as you shut the door. Of course. Why wouldn't I? The moment your eyes trailed up to meet his face, you immediately stopped. Hanta... What the hell? Of all the things you were expecting to see once you entered the room, it definitely wasn't the sight of your boyfriend, who was smiling like an idiot, with a soft orange lump on his head. As you walked closer to inspect the peculiar thing, you took notice of the dark eyes nestled in between the folds of the snake's body. Your gaze traveled back to Hanta, who, although was sitting incredibly still, was smiling up at you with the giddiness of a child. Meet our new daughter! He beamed. The warmth immediately rushed up your neck and bloomed on your face the moment the word daughter left his lips. Taking your hands and guiding you to sit beside him, he gently pulled you in to land a peck on your cheek. He still remained frozen in place, his mouth curling to a grin when the snake lifted her head to inspect you. When did you even get her? You asked as you shared a brief staring contest with the orange lump. Remember that reptile expo we went to a while ago? You nodded, holding back a laugh when the python slithered down his face to rest on the bridge of his nose. Well, the guys and I might have gone back the next day when they saw me eyeing this beauty. Of course he did. Hanta had always struck you as a reptile kind of guy, geeking out about lizards, turtles, and snakes way before you even got together. It was only a matter of time before he got one for himself. And by God, she was cute just plopped on his head. You took the next few minutes, borderline hour, getting acquainted with your new supposed daughter, which you now learned was named Marmalade. She slithered to and from your and Hanta's hands, weaving through your fingers and crawling up your arm. At one point, she even entangled herself in your hair. Marmalade was an absolute delight. You can see why Hanta practically locked himself in his room before you arrived. He eventually picked the cute noodle from your hands and placed her back in her enclosure on his dresser. Marmalade stood out against the lush green and muted browns of the space, bright orange with the slightest soft yellow gradient, along with cute dark eyes to boot. "She's beautiful," you murmured, eyes still locked on the snake even after your boyfriend sat down beside you. He rested an arm around your waist, pulling you closer and nuzzling your neck. "She is, isn't she?" he hummed as you pet his hair. "Don't get jealous if Marmalade steals my attention, babe." You scoffed, pulling him away and giving him a look. "Bold of you to assume I'll be the one getting jealous. Don't be surprised if I steal her away from you, honey." There was a mischievous glint in his eyes when he gazed into yours, his tongue shooting out to lick at his lip rings, a habit he knew you couldn't stand. "I'd like to see you try, mi amor." It completely caught you off guard when he tackled you on his bed, deliberate fingers finding every sensitive area on your sides and causing you to yelp. He tickled you mercilessly, to where you struggled beneath him with tears of laughter staining your eyes. "Hanta!" you squealed, attempting to grab his hands but to no avail. The man was set on torturing you with tickles. You ended up from one side of the bed to the other, leaving a mess of ruffled blankets and thrown pillows in your wake. You were wrestling Hanta at this point, using up your strength to prevent him from tickling you anymore. But you knew you were going to lose this fight. Your man was a pro hero, for God's sake. You were unmatched against his trained muscles and stamina. But there was one tactic that made it possible for you to fight on equal ground. And that was... give up, ya mimo. In a burst of energy, you pushed his arms apart and lunged for his lips, capturing them in your own. A laugh bubbled from him in between your haphazard kiss. But the moment your lips began to move, did Hanta begin to melt. The cold metal of his snake bites was always a pleasant sensation every time you kissed him, and it was always a delight to witness his reaction every time you nipped at one of the rings. You squeaked in surprise when Sero leaned forward and took your bottom lip in between his teeth, before pulling away with a playful smirk. "How's that for a snake bite?" he quipped, and instantly, the mood was ruined. "You did not just say that to me," you deadpanned, moving to nestle on his lap. You were a touch shorter than he was, which gave you little to no trouble situating yourself as you snuggled into his sweater. "I swear, I'm gonna pull off those stupid snake bites from your cute-ass face." He chuckled, wrapping an arm around you before shifting to lean against the wall. He reached for one of his blankets, draping it over the two of you before letting out a relaxed sigh. "Aw, he wouldn't do that." He pulled you up so you laid comfortably on his chest, leaning to give the top of your head a loving kiss. Your face was still buried in his sweater, but your lips tugged to a smile at his action. "Like you said, I'm cute, and you love me." You did. You really did.